Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing the second review of the September 2022 Vinegar Syndrome subscription package. Today we are going to be talking about the 1989 film directed by Gerard Kikwan, starring Ginger Allan, Donald Pleasance, and John Carradine, the amazing John Carradine. This is the film Buried Alive. So I've already kind of said the story or the synopsis of this film when I was doing the unboxing, so again I won't really go into details about what the movie is about, but I can say that this movie is good. This is very competently shot, it's competently edited. There's some great performances in this. Donald Pleasance is in this movie. He's great in this one. It's kind of a shame that he wasn't in more movies around this time. He's a really great actor. There's some great kills in this movie. The only issue I sort of have is that it's trying too many things at once. We get a ghost story, we get a slasher, we have paranoid storyline that a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stories are sort of reliant upon, such as The Black Cat, which is one of his most famous, and then the one all about the body underneath the floor, that a guy murders somebody, buries them under the floor, and he can hear them scratching the floor from below. But this is a pretty good movie. I just really don't have many thoughts on the movie itself, but I was pretty impressed by the cinematography throughout this movie. There's a really great sequence in this movie where the camera is going in circles, pointing up at the sort of a gazebo, a circular gazebo, and it's going around the entire perimeter of it on the inside, while our character is also sort of kind of hovering above the camera, and she's having a scare moment, and it's going around, and I don't know how they shot that, but it was quite amazing to watch. But it's all about a woman who goes to a reform school to go work for Dr. Schaefer, who is played by, I'm trying to think of his name, Robert Vaughn, who is somebody who I don't know. But apparently he's a method actor who didn't get along all that well with the cast. But he's the sort of guy running the show for the reform school. And Ginger Allan, she was an ex-porn star at the time. She played one of the girls in the school. She was playing, I think, a 16-year-old, and she was like 28. There's a great interview on here, which I'll talk about later, but she talks about how she not advertised, but auditioned for this movie, and they chose her pretty much immediately. And she said this was sort of one of the best filming experiences that she had. And in terms of the story, it's really not all that interesting. Again, it's just trying to do way too much. There's a lot of really bizarre scenes throughout this movie where you don't really think that it was edited all that thoroughly. Like, they made a draft cut and they really edited well a couple of the main scenes that are the most important, and then for the scenes that don't really add too much to the story, they sort of just cobbled it together. And this movie, again, just does way too much. One of the more interesting parts is that this was one of the final films that John Carradine had made. And again, this guy was born, I think, in 1910, maybe. He's in Stagecoach with John Wayne. He's amazing in that one. And many other movies. He's done hundreds, if I recall right. But on the interview with Ginger Allan, and also with the other star of the film, I gotta find his name, William Butler. They both mentioned how this was right at the tail end of his life for John Carradine, and in the script for the movie, they were going to have a big showdown between John Carradine and Robert Vaughn, and they wheeled John Carradine out, and everyone's just kind of sitting there like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is in a wheelchair. He doesn't even know like where he is, who he is. Like he was really at the end of his life." And they said after the one-day shooting they had with John Carradine that he went to go home to England, I believe, maybe America. I'm not sure where he's from, but they said that they had to stop in Spain for an emergency medical appointment, or not appointment, but sort of a medical doctor visit, so that he could be taken into sort of a stable condition, and he died like that day. So you can kind of see it in this movie. He just has a very, very quick scene where he comes out of the wall on his wheelchair and he goes, "Ah!" And then he yells at somebody, like one line, and then he's not mentioned or seen for the rest of the movie. And it was really sad seeing that. I didn't know that when I was watching the movie, but watching the interviews, both William Butler and Ginger Allan were both like, he shouldn't have been there. It was very sad, is what they were saying. And they didn't really get to know him. But I guess this is a good time to go into the special features. There aren't many. There are 2 total. One of them is a 12-minute or a 13-minute interview called Ginger's Antics, which is with the actress Ginger Allan. And then the other one is a 19-minute one called Well, I Want to Be an Actor. And that's the interview with William Butler, who is one of the kind of dudes in this movie. But the one with Ginger Allan, I think, is definitely the stronger interview. The William Butler one is more fun, but I think the Ginger Allan one was just more informative about the movie, because she talks about her experiences there, talks about how wonderful Donald Pleasance was, and how there was a scene with him and Robert Vaughn sitting on a podium, like sort of in front of the entire school, talking about the murders going on, that they see as disappearances or runaways. And apparently Donald Pleasance was just like bored out of his mind and was playing with a thing of gum. He was stretching it, he was playing with it, and the camera guy kept like focusing on him because he was just so riveting. And Robert Vaughn is like a method actor, and he acts exactly like his character off camera. And so that's why Ginger Allan was talking about how just kind of abrasive Robert Vaughn was off camera, because he was a method actor, which means he always acts like his character off camera and will not break character until the movie is done. And so what ended up happening is that Donald Pleasance was sort of like the grandfather characters, what Ginger Allan was saying, in that he was so supportive of everyone. William Butler recounts how he showed up to set one day and was sitting with Donald Pleasance, I think for the same scene where they're on the podium, and they were talking, and Donald Pleasance is like, "So, what do you want to be, professionally? What do you want to do with your life?" And William was just kind of like, "I want to be an actor." And Donald Pleasance just kind of looked around and was like, "Looks like you are one." And he said that was kind of a big awakening moment for him, because he was like, "Wow, like, I am an actor, but I'm on this very low-paying sort of gig," which he was getting, I think he said $750 a week, which to me sounds like a lot, especially for the late 80s. But I think he said it was a very short filming, maybe a month. So he was probably paid about $3,000 maybe, and then that was it. And we also have a very early sort of acting performance by, I don't know his name, but he was in The Scorpion King. He plays the Scorpion King. I'll see if his name is on here, but I do not see it, so that's unfortunate. But he plays one of the cops in this movie. He's only in it for like 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the end. But the interview with William Butler is not as informative, but it's definitely more fun because he's just sort of talking about his experiences doing this movie and talking about the conditions that he had to go through and how he accidentally tackled Robert Vaughn, who, again, is a method actor, and he was really kind of shitty towards the other actors and actresses. And William, I keep wanting to say William Sadler. That's not his name. William, and of course now I messed it up. William Butler. Okay, William Butler. He talked about how he accidentally tackled Robert Vaughn because his character and Robert Vaughn's character get in a big fight. And I guess this, on second thought, this is what they replaced the John Carradine fight with, is a fight with the boyfriend of Ginger Allan. And he kind of tackles Robert Vaughn and lands him hard in a big old pile of dirt. And Robert Vaughn next takes a little spade, a metal spade, and is burying Ginger Allan and his character. But what he does is that he slashes the spade at the guy's head and kills him in the movie, not in real life. He's still around. He did the interview. But William Butler talks about how just scared he was seeing Robert Vaughn, because Robert Vaughn walked him off set immediately after that shot and was like, "You hurt me, I'm gonna end your fucking career." And William Butler was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't have much of a career for you to ruin." Direct quote by him. And Robert Vaughn instead hit him really hard with the rubber spade that they had filming for this movie. So pretty interesting stories that he had, pretty fun. But Ginger Allan's was a lot more about, each person and talking about the script, talking about the direction by the director. It was just really interesting. This is definitely not my favorite movie that Vinegar Syndrome has released, but I think it's pretty fun 2 hours that I've just had. The movie's about an hour and 29 minutes, maybe. I'm going to look at it right now. An hour and 31 minutes, so I was 2 minutes off. But it's not atmospheric, is sort of another nitpick that I have for this movie. Because one of the things I really like about Edgar Allan Poe, I haven't read his stories in a very long time, but one thing that always struck me is sort of the atmosphere of his stories. It's always really spooky. I love the Raven a lot, and that definitely is a very cool atmosphere, kind of echoing throughout the story. But in this movie, there's not much of an atmosphere. We do get some fun dream sequences that remind me of Nightmare on Elm Street. But in general, it's very sort of not realistic, but naturalistic. Natural lighting, just natural lighting in general, natural camera movements. There's a few scenes where they try to do something new with it. I think the best execution of the cinematography was, of course, when they were in the gazebo. I've already talked about that, but this movie is just sort of good. I think some people may not like this movie at all. Looking at the Letterboxd reviews, there are next to no reviews above, I think, 2.5 stars. And I think that's a little harsh, but I completely understand. I did not care for this movie at all as I was watching it, but when I finished it and started watching the interviews and everything kind of coalesced, and I was like, okay, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a mishmash of many different Edgar Allan Poe stories, such as Black Cat and Person Under the Floor, whatever that story is called. A little bit of The Raven is in this movie because we do have ravens, and even the reform school is called Ravenscroft. So they definitely are using some Edgar Allan Poe in the story, but I don't think they used enough of it. So, yeah. One thing to note, though, is that I was watching the Ginger Allen interview, and about, I want to say 9 minutes in of the 12 minutes, it skipped and actually shut off my Blu-ray player. I don't know what the fuck happened with that, because I turned it back on, started rewatching it, fast-forwarded to the part that it skipped, and it was just fine. Not sure what happened there, but I don't know if that's an issue that has been going on. Not many people have gotten these movies. I think a lot of people got Amityville Horror and maybe Iceman Kampf, for those who don't know about the 88 films release. But solid little movie here. I don't feel as if I wasted my life watching this. That's sort of the best, I guess, review I can give it. And just to keep with tradition here, would I have bought this without the subscription? Would I have paid money for this? I think eventually I would have gotten it, maybe on a sale. And if not a sale, I probably would have waited until the slipcover sold out. But, because the slipcover looks pretty good, but it reminds me of an early Vinegar Syndrome slipcover, where it looks good, but it's a little too dark. And I didn't even realize it, but here's the bricks that John Carradine kind of throws himself out of in his wheelchair. But, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the night.